Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. First of all, I want to say thank you for making out the time. We're talking on our way here
Mm-hmm.
about everything you've been going through, your family, and the families of, I would imagine now, hundreds of Nigerians are going through currently. But first of all, I would just like to ask you, how are you doing? How have you been?
Mm, I've been better
Mm.
currently, but I'm fine now. I'm okay.
Yeah, for those that don't know your story, that maybe they didn't watch the documentary or they're not privy to what has been going on, what made you who you are today, or what brought you to where you are today with the activism, with the what happened to your brother? So what is the whole story
Oh,
of what's been going
okay. Now
on?
you sound like my friend that says I'm an accidental activist. Okay, so Chijioke
Mm,
is my elder brother. Chijioke Iloanya is my elder brother. In November 2012, he was arrested at Ajali by the Ajali police officers at the police station, taken to the cell. So we got a call that he was arrested, and the next morning, my mom went to bail him out. First, my dad said he was not going to go because in my house there's a curfew. By 6, you're supposed to be in the house.
mm,
So if you're out after 6, you're on your own, according to my dad. So Chijioke was out after 6, obviously, and he was arrested. So my dad said, I'm not going to go. So my mom went to bail him out, and he told her that she can't effect the bail because she's a woman. And so she had to call her brother, her elder brother. Funny enough, that my uncle died last year. So while he was on his way to go get them, go get Chijioke released and help his sister, of course, they were then transferred. The boys, it wasn't just Chijioke, by the way, they were like a group of boys. They were then transferred to Akwuzu SARS, or at least that's what they told my mom, that they were being transferred to Akwuzu SARS. So my mom calls my dad. And now, if you know Akwuzu SARS in 2011, 2012, you know that they are very deadly. You don't want a
yeah.
loved one to like go there. So my mom told my dad that they said that transferring this boy to Akwuzu SARS, my dad had to act. He had to leave everything and start going to Akwuzu SARS. And my mom met with him there. They went in and met with James Nwafor, who was the officer in charge then. He was an ASP then, but he retired as a CSP. So when they met with him, he said that the boys were not transferred to his station. Nobody was brought to his station. So my parents were confused. Were they brought here or not? So they left and went to the SAS office at Neni and other police stations. Went back to Ajali. They told them that we are very sure we transferred them to Okuzu SAS, and those are the people that picked them up. So they returned back to Okuzu, met with James, and said the police officers at Ajali said that you guys picked the boys. This man denied and said nothing like that happened. As my parents were leaving his office, they saw my brother and other boys being led in, beaten, and they were in cuffs. So my mom started shouting, this is the boy we are looking for. Chijioke, what did you do? What happened? And Chijioke was just like shrugging and saying he doesn't know. According to my mom, they were already well beaten. And so when that happened, James asked the police officers to send my parents out of the station. So my parents left the station and then tried several times to get access to the station to know what Chijioke did, get food to him and all. The officers collected money from my parents to give him food, but they were not allowed to see him. After like 4 days, my mom then told my dad that maybe they should stop asking for Chijioke and ask to see James Nwafor again. So they made an appointment to see him and he allowed them audience. So my parents came in. My dad said, please, we came because of that boy that we saw the other day. That's the boy. We are the parents. We want to know what is happening. Are they going to court? What did they do? He said, if it's those boys you're talking about, I've already killed them and there's nothing we can do. It's too late. I was like, too late. I mean, this is somebody's child. What are you saying? We saw him just a few days ago. I said, yeah, that they are dead. And there was nothing they could do. And so my mom slumped. They had to rush her to the hospital. And then that started the whole journey to here. When my dad, when my parents came back, some people told my dad that it was a lie, that he probably didn't kill the boy, that he just wants them to make him an offer of
Mm,
money. So my dad tried to get access to him through lawyers to get to know how much he wanted. He didn't bite. He didn't like want to talk to lawyers. We had lawyers come take money from us, and it got to nowhere. So my dad sold our land and then took the money, that's about 3 million, in a bag, and went to meet him and say, so we are ready to pay, and this is the money we want to pay. Like, we want to know if we can get this boy back. And he's like, but I told you people that the boy is dead, and even if he's not dead, this money is too small. And then my parents came back. So my parents are like, okay, so if he's dead, we need like his dead body so we can do burial. And it's like, get out. I don't have to talk to you people. I don't have any business with you people. So we started looking for Chijioke's dead body then. Because then we are in limbo. Is he really dead? Because people say, oh, maybe the money people went with is small. But we don't have a lot either. We don't have a lot of money to give, right? And we are willing to give what we had. And he said it was too small. Okay, fine. If he's dead, just give us the dead body so we can bury. As is normal Igbo tradition.
Yeah.
When someone dies, you bury the person and get the buried. And he didn't. Which was why when in January 2013, when dead bodies were found in Ezu River, and they said that they were from SARS, my dad had to go and turn the dead bodies, trying to find if Chijioke was amongst them, so we can take his body and bury. A lot of other people tried to get their loved ones, if they were there, and bury. But Chijioke was not amongst those corpses. And it continued until I decided to, like, we went through series of things, went to human rights people, they collected money from us, said they were going to help us get access to Chijioke. Nothing came out of it. Different lawyers took money from my parents. I was gradually getting frustrated at this point, but there was really nothing I could do. First thing, I was quite young then, and I was living with my parents, and my parents were really scared of James Nwafor. They were in perpetual fear of him, of speaking out, and with the whole there is this thing in Anambra or in Oka, well, where we grew up, where anybody that's arrested by the police is already presumed guilty.
Yeah.
You then have to live with the guilt and shame of your child being arrested by the police and all of that. So we are walking on eggshells, so to say. Until then, I moved to Abuja for my NYSC. I came to Abuja in 2018 for my NYSC. And in 2019, I was watching a documentary, When They See Us. It's an American documentary, very tear-jerking documentary. And it was depicting police, racial injustice, and even socioeconomic injustice, right? So it made me like reflect on what happened to us. If we are from maybe a richer family, maybe what happened to Chijioke would not have happened. If we were maybe from a more influential family, even if we don't have the money, but we had the name, maybe what happened to Chijioke would not happen. So I was really pained that night, and I decided to like make the first tweet about it. And I made that tweet, and it got a lot of people reaching out to me, trying to help, but nothing came out of it. Police CCRU, or BCPRU reached out to me, gave me a number and said that that's my case number. They would get back. I tried my best to get back to them to know what the case number means. How do I track this case? Nothing came out of it. 2020, in July 2020, I saw James Nwafor's tweet on Twitter where he was telling people to join the police academy. And I lost it. This guy was not an exemplary police officer. He's someone who looked a parent in the eye and said, I've killed your son and there's nothing you can do about it. He's obviously he's everything bad with the Nigerian police. He doesn't deserve to ask people to join the police academy. He's not a good ambassador of the academy. So I lost it. So I quoted his tweet and called him out and called him a monster. I told him that he's very wicked and all, and see what he had done to my brother. And that got a lot more attention, right? A lot more people were very interested, and I actually lost it so much that I didn't limit myself to Twitter. I went to my Facebook and I called him out, tagged him, tagged his family members. I could say I doxed him. Anyways, I'm like, you people, are his family members. You eat from the same plate with him, and you don't tell him how wicked he is and how much of an evil monster he is to have done this to my family and to countless other families and all of that. And he deactivated his Twitter and his social media, and there were a lot of people clamoring now to like get to the root of what happened. People were reaching out to me, and all of that. And then in September, I got arrested by the police. They said I was out late, but when my lawyer reached out and my parents, I called my dad, he helped, and I got out. Then October EndSARS happened, and it triggered a series of things.
Yeah.
James Nwafor got sacked because all this while James Nwafor was being called out and all his evil were being told, not just my story, there were so many other stories of what James Nwafor had done as an officer in the police and at Akwuzu SARS. He was still at that point, as at 2019, 2020, working with the Anambra State government as an essay on security or something for the Obianuju administration. So it was during the End SARS protests that Anambra people protested to the government house, and then he was sacked from his position, and that was it. Panel happened. He was asked to come to the panel. He refused to come to the panel, and so at the panel, the police legal rep said that my brother was an armed robber that was arrested, brought to Akwuzu SARS, and then he was questioned between that November and December and January. He was questioned, and then he confessed to being an armed robber. And and then he told them where his gang stays, the location of his gang, and then he took the police to the location of his gang, and his gang opened fire on the police, and in exchange of fire, my brother was hit, and he was taken to Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital at Nnewi, and he died. I'm like, okay, this is a very silly story, which I don't know how to begin to explain how silly it is. Because first things first, if my brother was arrested as an armed robber, you don't need to interrogate him to get more answers. He's an armed robber. Prosecute him. That's the next option. You didn't. Then Nigeria has signed the anti-torture policy a long time ago. The Anti-Torture Act is in effect a long time ago. But you people so-called interrogated him up until between November and December. Then he confessed to being an armed robber. We might want to know the kind of interrogation that happened that did not allow him access to his parents, to a lawyer. Nobody was there to confirm or deny that he did say that he was an armed robber, right? And you didn't allow him access to anybody. You told his parents that he was already dead. According to James Nwafor, my brother was already dead. As at early December, he told my parents that this boy was already dead, and there's nothing we can do about it. But from the police legal rep, my brother was alive until January 16th, when he was killed in the crossfire between the police and his gang. Okay, so if an armed robber was arrested, his gang would move base. But okay, so let's agree that they didn't. He has already told you that he's an armed robber. He has told you where his base is at. You're supposed to go there without him.
Yeah.
Right? So you take him, a handcuffed criminal, an armed robber that is handcuffed in your custody. What was he doing in the crossfire then? And no police officer was hot in this crossfire except my brother. And you take him to Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital and he died. But then Nnamdi Azikiwe says that they never got a dead body. They never got anybody of that sort. So you find that this was hard to swallow for
There were
us.
so many inconsistencies.
Yeah, there's so many inconsistencies,
Yeah.
of course. So this was quite hard for us to swallow. And that was like the dead end we met at the panel. We were waiting there for the panel to give their recommendations, because even that admittance of arresting my brother, him dying in their custody, is enough crime on the part of the police. Why is the boy in your custody more than he was supposed to? How did he die? Where is this dead body and all of that? So we're waiting for the panel recommendation or feedback so we can then work with it. We never got that. Up till now, the panel recommendations have remained private, and I don't know why. See, they submitted to the Anambra State government. Great, that's good. But why are they also not making it public? The Lagos State panel's recommendation is public. Make it public so people can know what people decided, but we don't know. So that led me to start the Where is Chijioke campaign.
Yeah.
Like, if Chijioke is dead, where is the dead body? If Chijioke is alive, where is he? But the Where is Chijioke campaign is not necessarily for Chijioke alone, because if you went to the Anambra State panel for police brutality and SARS, whatever, there were over 120 cases. There, of course, more than 100 of them were all indicting James Nwafor. There are loads of families who have also experienced what we experienced with Chijioke's issue. There are lots. The stories are uncountable, and the stories are gory. You might think that my story is painful, but there are stories that you would hear, and you'll be shocked. Like, what is this wickedness? What is this evil? And that is what the police like represents to me: evil, wickedness, unfeeling. The police in Nigeria acts like they are not human beings with blood flowing through their veins themselves. So I started the Where is Chijioke campaign, where I ask for answers for Chijioke and every other person who have been a victim of police and SARS brutality. Why is the Nigerian police not being investigated? Why are they not doing proper investigation and fishing out these so-called bad officers and giving justice and closure to families? It's unfair to stay in limbo. So, like, that's how I came to
Yeah.
be here.
And this happened in 2011, you said?
2012.
2012. So this is like 11 years from now?
Yeah.
And nothing
Yeah.
from the police about where your brother is?
None.
He was your last, not was, because we don't know, I'm sorry, but he's your last born, right?
No.
First,
He's the second
He's
child,
second.
is older than me.
okay. I can't begin to wrap my head around this because as a Nigerian myself, obviously, we all know how bad the police is in Nigeria. I think most Nigerians have had an encounter one way or the other. Whether it's the lady in Lagos State, the pregnant lady that was killed by a drunk police officer on her way back
Christmas
from
period.
church. Yeah. Whether it's your brother, whether
lawyer.
it's she was a lawyer. Whether it's hundreds of cases in Lagos State, in Anambra State, like you said, Anambra is you called it the
Ground zero.
ground zero for police brutality.
Yes.
Whether it's in other states as well, and most importantly, the cases that we never get to hear about.
Yeah. Lots
Because-
of cases you will never,
Yeah.
that will never probably have the public eye on
Yeah.
it.
So for me, it's like at some point, I would imagine at some point there has to be a reckoning when it comes to this issue. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about, because I believe that we can't go on like this for too long. Yes, it may seem as if this has continued and there is no end in sight, but I believe that with stories like yours, with what your family has gone through, with what we are seeing on social media now, where you can easily open up these cases for the whole world to see, right? It's not as if we're living back in the days where you couldn't talk about these things, but now if something happens like this, you can see it in an instant and know that this happened. And so for me, what will be the I guess I would ask this like this: what will be for Chijioke now, for example, and for the campaign where is Chijioke? What would you say has been an eye opener for you when it comes to the police? Like, what would you say has shocked you? What would you say you didn't think that this was happening, but that's okay? This happened. Whether it's negative or positive, like, is it the cases that, and like you said yourself, is it the cases that were so much gorier than yours, or can you go into a bit more detail?
So, throughout this West UK campaign that I am leading now, so many things jump at me. When people ask me like, what jumps at you, a lot of things. When I did like July, I did a one-person protest here in Abuja at National Assembly. I also went to the police headquarters, and one of the things that kept on coming up, I was at the first headquarters where the IG of police is at, where the who is who of police is at. And what they told me was, have you gone to Human Rights Radio? if you go to Human Rights Radio, they will call the IG and the IG would. And I'm like, really? I am at the IG's door. He can literally see me if there's a CCTV camera. He could see me, but no, I have to go to Human Rights Radio. If Ordinary Ahmed is much more able to get justice for the average Nigerian from the police, then maybe he should be the IG of police so that he can receive the cases and do the right thing. There is no reason why people should have to go through that stress. If I go for Chijioke's issue to Ordinary Ahmed, for example, and get justice, what does justice look like in Ordinary Ahmed's court? It's calling the IG, and the IG saying, okay, we'll look into it and all of that. What about other families who cannot come to Abuja and do it? Where would they stay? It's not like if you come to Abuja, you see Ordinary Ahmed the same day. There is a queue, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
There's a
100%.
queue that you have to stay for weeks to get access to. Why do we have to go through that when there is a simple channel of write a petition to the IG of police and having the IG read your petition and do something about it? In fact, this is a popular case that he has heard about, obviously. Because if he's refusing to see me, then he knows who I am. If that be the case, why is he not acting? Why do we have to wait? That's one of the things that jumped. But then also the callousness and like the flippancy of the police about people's life. When I went to the police headquarters on that Friday that I was doing my protest, and I was telling them about my brother's case, and I wanted to hold my placard. They said I can't hold my placard in front of the police force headquarters, that I must leave. And then one of them comes to me and says that he's just telling me this because he looks at me, I'm a young girl, he wants me to move on with my life. Your brother have died. He has died though. Nothing can be done. He said it's 10 years. What can happen again? He don't die now. That was it. That was what this person said, callously. And I'm looking at him like, wow, he has died. We should move on with our lives. As if this is a chicken that was killed to be eaten, or as if this is not my blood. You stare me in the eye and you say I should get on with my life. And I told myself, if it were not in front of the police headquarters, I'd for slap him. I would have been violent because I was that angry at him. The flippancy, the way he just said, human life is not important. And then in the course of my advocacy, I've also met people who have like gone through serious trauma. If you watch my documentary with Chude, you might hear one lady that was saying the police were asking her to sleep with them just to have access to her brother. And it's so crazy that you know that you have killed or disappeared this person, but you are willing to take advantage of their family members. They collected money from my parents to feed my brother, knowing fully well that my brother is not there or maybe dead or ever, right? But they collected money from my parents over and over and over again. Every time that they went to that station, they collected money from them. And this was the same thing they did to this family. Okay? And there's the other family that the mom died screaming her son's name.
The two ladies.
Onyemelu's family. It's so hard for people to cope with things like this. It's so hard for people to live their life not knowing. It's not even just that you lost a brother or a sibling or a sister to police brutality. It's actually not knowing, like, is he really dead? Am I hallucinating when I think I've seen someone that looks like him? What? Like, it is so painful. This is the thing. These are the things that keep me awake at night. Like, is the flippancy, the callousness, the ineffectiveness of the Nigerian police, is the wickedness that they mete out casually, so casually, like you're giving someone a cup of water. They don't care. Just like you say hello to someone, the Nigerian police is willing to kill people and met out wickedness without even feeling it.
Your parents, how are they taking this? How since it happened, like how are they coping?
It's hard, but I can't really speak for my parents because I am not them. I can only say what I see and how painful it is for them to even talk about it. I mean, towards the documentary of Chide, they said that this is the last time they want to talk about it. They don't want to go on camera and talk about it anymore. They're done. They're tired. Because why? from 2020 till last year, we opened our family and our wound to people. Al Jazeera came to our house, stayed with us, went to my mom's church, everything when they went into every nook and cranny of our house. They went into Chijioke's room, had access to our albums of him and everything. That kind of pain, eating that kind of pain. Washington Post, New York Times, everybody did their bit. And I'm very grateful for what these journalists have done. Put a torchlight on what has happened to my family. But it also meant that my parents had to relieve their pain. I speak from the part of a sibling, right? And I understand. I loved Chijioke. Chijioke loved me so much. Everybody in my family believed that Chijioke was my most favorite sibling. And he even told people that we are twins and everything. We were really close. But I can't imagine what it felt like for my mom to know that she'd never see this boy again. A child she carried for 9 months, fed, took to school, all of that. My dad, knowing that this is like my blood, my flesh, and everything gone. I can't imagine how they feel if I feel this way. So it's been hard for everybody. There was a time we don't say Chijioke's name in the house because they are scared of triggering people. It's recently from 2020 that we decided to start like talking about him, and my mom said, I'm done. I'm done staying in the morning. I'm just going to try to be happier in my life. And it's not easy.
Yeah, because for me, I just try to sometimes put myself in the shoes of a parent who loses their child, and for me, it's one of the things that is heartbreaking with Nigeria, that this has been going on for so many years now, and there seems to be a lack of recognition that from the government that we need to hold this and grab it by the throat and stop police brutality. Like, it seems to be as if let's just be living life and let's just be having fun. Let's keep selling the money. Life will keep going on and people will keep dying, and it's just the way it is. There seems to be no like, okay, how do we redeem this situation? How do we resolve it? How do we salvage this one?
They
Because
are not
the
affected.
heartbreak at some point has to be too much.
They're not affected.
Like, the bloodshed has to be too much, and I don't just know, because it's
You
painful.
empathize
Yeah,
because there is a possibility of it happening to you. I don't want it to happen to you
yeah, I
ever.
know.
It
Yeah,
would never happen to you. But like, if push comes to shove and it happens, nothing would actually happen,
and that's
right?
and that's and
And that
that's the
is the
scary.
reason why you can understand and you want
That's the
something. You
scary
want, yeah,
part.
it's the
Yeah.
scary part. But that is also the reason why you want this to end. You want actions to be taken. For the political class, nothing like that would happen to them. I'm not saying the political class, the people that just found their way in. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, no.
the hegemony,
Yeah,
the
the
ones
elites.
who
Yeah,
are already that are there,
yeah,
there,
yeah,
the elites
yeah,
proper. It can't happen to them. So why should they do anything? In fact, the police is their tool that they use
yeah.
to oppress.
Of course.
So if you tell them to take action, you're asking them to take action against themselves. They like what the police is doing. They want us to be scared of the police. They like the fear and the disdain we have for the
Yeah,
police. So they use the police to hurt us. And the police are not better of themselves. They are not.
yeah.
But
You mentioned James Nwafor, and like I was telling you in the car on our way here, I know James Nwafor. I met him. I had to, obviously, as president of the SUG when I was in Unizik, I had to speak with him. I also met the SSS director as well. I also knew the police, the head of either the CP or one of those guys. I had to know these guys, of course, because that was my job in case something happened with any. Because I remember one of the cases I had with the students who came to meet us, and I think her friend was arrested by the police, not SARS, just the normal police. I had to go there and get bail and for them and everything. And they had to pay bail. And because of my presence, they had to release the students. But my point was, my job was to know these people, just in case.
the
And I
security
remember,
apparatus in the
yeah,
state.
exactly. I remember going to meet James Walford, stepping into Akwuzu SARS. And like I was telling you in the car, that place smelled like death. Like, I can remember the smell, but I can't even describe it. Because when you walk into a Okozo SARS, for people that don't know, when you walk into that, it's by the expressway. And when you walk into that building, the smell, the stench that comes from that place, it's not even like anything that you would imagine. Even when you walk into a mortuary, it's not the same smell. There, the smell there is like a smell of, terrible things are happening here, but you can't even pinpoint what terrible things are happening in Okozusa, but you know something bad is really happening here. The smell alone gives it away. And when I think of, and we all knew back in Anambra State, we all knew that, like they say, the knowledge of SARS is the beginning of wisdom. That was the kind of term they were using back then in Anambra State, because everyone knew what SARS was. Most people also knew who James Nwafor was, and you mentioned him in your story. And so for me, it's like when you think of him now, 11 years on, when James Nwafor comes to your mind, I would imagine you think about him all the time. What comes to your thoughts whenever James Nwafor comes to you?
James Nwafor is almost the bane of my existence, I guess. I pray for long life for him. I want him to live a very long life because I intend to fight until I get justice. And if he dies, I will not get justice. I would never get justice if he dies. So I really want him to live long so I can get justice from him. But the man, James Nwafor, represents evil to me. Like when when we went to the panel, and there's this woman that was talking about how the husband was arrested, and I think he's a laborer or something, and he was arrested, and they were like, they don't have money to bail him out. So they were believing that at some point they will release him because the family were that poor to not have the money to bail him out. And the woman don't have money to give him food, so she will cook and take to the station, and they will take the food, and we are not even sure that the husband even got the food and everything. And the husband died in that station, and they never got the body back. And when she was telling this story, she was really crying because people were then saying that she killed her husband, that she said that her husband is dead. How did she know? That she just wants to take over non-existent properties, right? And it was so painful to look at this woman years after. I think this happened in 2014, and the panel was in 2020. I think it was about 6 or 7 years after, and she was broken. She was sitting on that chair and she was crying, and I couldn't do anything to help her. And it pained me so badly that how is this man getting away with all of this? How is he a free man eating and experiencing the love of his family when he denies people love? When he denies people even closure, even dignity. There's a dignity that comes with burying your loved ones. So you know where they are at. And if you feel so deeply, you can go to their graveside and cry and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you deny them this. You make them question their own minds. Am I stupid for believing that my husband or my brother or my sister or my child is late? Should I hold on to hope? You open them up to being manipulated and exploited by a lot of people. I can count the churches that my mom went to, my parents. My father is not deeply religious, but my mom dragged him to several churches, different ones. They will collect money. They will collect, oh God. Chijoke's clothes, I don't think we have any left. They will collect clothes, collect shoe, collect picture. So they can pray, they can do, they can, and it's so hard. People are going helter skelter trying to find closure that you can give them by just doing the right thing. It's hard. Nobody's hard. So when I think of him, I just wish him half of the pain that he has made families go through. If he feels half of what families have felt, he won't even survive it. He won't even survive it.
For yeah, for me, James Warford, like I thought about this deeply when NSAS happened, and I believe that for James to have acted the way he acted, I don't think he was acting alone, obviously. Someone cannot have that level of impunity and that level of malice or hatred or evil without not having the state backing him up. For context, in Anambra State, or I would say in some cases, in some places in Nigeria, you could argue that because of levels of criminality, kidnapping, and violence, you need a group like SARS that will strike fear in the hearts of the bad guys. Like this is the bad part of society, the kidnappers, the murderers, those people, right? You need a group like SARS. But at some point, as is the case in Nigeria, these organizations like SARS always end up victimizing the average Nigerian. They don't go after people that are supposed to go after, like the kidnappers. They go after innocent Nigerians, like your brother, like others. People that are just coming back from church. People that just maybe their hair is looks a bit funny, or they dye their hair, or they are wearing strip jeans or anything, or they're carrying a laptop or an iPhone. And so, for me, when I think of James Nwafor, I see him as per the Anambra State government also has to be held liable for, if not all of the actions, but at least most of the actions that's happened under his tenure. And like you are rightly saying, not just under him, it also went on under Obianuju, and I even think under Soludo as well. Like you said, last year someone was killed as well last year. And so for me, it's like, yeah, James Nwafor, of course, he must be held liable, but at some point, he also has to be asked some of the things you did, like were you acting under someone else's orders? Like, was the state governor at the time, whether it was PTOB or Obianuju Soludo, were any of them asking you or directing you to do any of these things? Whether that, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Actually, I don't care. That's the truth. I don't care who asked James Nwafor to kill anybody. I don't. My grace is with James Nwafor, like, because even if anybody, let me give an example, the biblical example. If Abraham had killed Isaac, nobody cares if he's saying God asked him to. The main thing is that he killed Isaac. In fact, the Jews killed Jesus Christ, and it was predestined that he would die. But like, well, he did, was killed by the Spirit. So I don't care who asked James Nwafor, but I also agree with you that he had backings of powerful people, especially within the states. Because I say this because when Chijioke's issue happened, we did not rely on just going to James Nwafor to get justice. We wrote to the Anambra State government, and it was under Peter Obi. Then in 2012, yeah, it was under Peter Obi to take actions. And Peter Obi, being the kind of governor that he is, I'm sure would have seen that petition. But let's say that he didn't see it, of course. I mean, Obiano, Soludo is telling me that he didn't see my petitions. So it's also possible that Peter Obi didn't see it. But like, the atrocities that James Nwafor was committing is not just to my family. A lot of families, we are begging for government intervention, and government didn't intervene. Now, a lot of people would say, well, there was high level of insecurity in Anambra State then, not in 2012, not in 2013. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that way. So governments could not afford to overlook, but they did overlook. The excuse then would be, oh, the governor of a state is not in charge of the police. Fine, great. That's a very good one. He's not, because the police is a federal agency, but he has a responsibility to the citizens of the state. The social contract theory is
Yeah.
clear about who is the chief security officer of the state. And if your citizens are dying and are asking for your help, right, you could do something. You could ask the AG, Attorney General, to do something
Call a press
to
conference.
initiate an
Yeah,
investigation of
yeah,
their own and sue the police
yeah.
for indiscriminate killing, extrajudicial killing, and all of that. That didn't happen. What's his name? Obiano took over as the governor. It was still business as usual. 2014 was Obiano. 2015 was Obiano. People were still killed by James Nwafor before he retired, I think, in 2015. 2022, we are back to Akwuzu SARS being effective again and people dying at Akwuzu SARS under Soludo. I begin to ask, is there something in Akwuzu SARS that is bigger than the president, than the governor of Anambra State? I doubt there is. So it is a willful decision to not say or do anything about it. Either they are gaining from it, or they just do not think that is any of their business because, well, none of their children or their brothers' children are being killed, so they can afford to overlook. And that's the whole problem I have with the Nigerian politician. They lack empathy. No matter what they tell me, there is no Nigerian politician that has empathy. It's not about your press conferences or the words you say on TV or whatever, or the tweets you make. I don't care. Honestly, I don't. Empathy looks like action. It looks like what I'm doing, right? I empathize with families that have lost their loved ones, which is why when I stood under the hot sun in Abuja, I held their names with me on my t-shirt, on my banner, and I asked for justice for them. Which is why wherever I go to, my TEDx speech, when I talk to young people like myself, and I ask them, you must meddle, you must be involved, you must do something. Because if you keep quiet, you will become a victim yourself. The problem is that these people are protected. They know that they will never become victims themselves. Soludo has become part of the elite. He's now a governor. Nothing will happen to his son, even though he's a musician and can decide to carry dreadlocks, which fits the profile of people that police kills. Nothing will happen to him because why? He is Soludo's son. All right? And so they don't care. So even if they don't collude with James Nwafor and the police officers at Akwuzu SARS, they do not care. So for me, they are also liable. All of them, from Peter Obi to Soludo. And I said it, I put it on my Twitter, I said, all of you are responsible. Because these people are people who have ceded their rights to you as the governor of their state. That is what the social contract is about. Otherwise, we could begin to fight for ourselves and protect ourselves. The reason why there is a form of government, of any form of government, is because people cede their right and expect you to then protect them. And when you cannot do that, how then do you call yourself a governor, a president, whatever? All right? So I don't care who was working with James Nwafor. Of course, I know that he has state backings, but I really want him to pay. And even if they don't ask him who was sending him to do whatever he's doing, well, even if he says that he's doing it on his own, why? Why were you killing people? Why were you not giving them, why following due processes? Can we get justice for it? So all of these other people, governors, they are hopelessly ineffective for us. So when people ask me who was the best governor of Anambra State, I say nobody has. Nobody has been the best governor of Anambra State, right? Because none of them cares. And people asked me during the last election, like, who are you voting for? Who do you think is it? I said, no, none of them has been the best candidate. See, you cannot promise me that you will do something about police brutality when you become the president of Nigeria if you cannot join me in a solidarity march. No, you cannot stay in your house and write on Twitter, oh, I support and I stand with. Who are you standing with when you're in your house? Brother, come outside. Let us feel you standing with us, all right? You put your money where your mouth is. You cannot come and tell me you're standing with me while you are comfortably in your house, lying down on your bed, probably writing one press release to come and say you stand with us. We don't care about that kind of standing. We are asking you to ask the people that are in power that are your friends, all right? Whether it is article of PDP, they have PDP legislators on seats as at the time the NSAS happened. If PDP legislators thought that it was an important, and that was also when Peter was still in PDP, was an important thing that they care about, they could have pushed for it at the National Assembly, both House of Rep and Senate. All right? There were states that were owned by the PDP, that were like the PDP being governing. They could have pushed for police reformation and transformation, okay? None of this happened. So when they say that they stand with you, they are lying. These people are lying to us, okay? That's it. So if you think that anything would happen, that if they come tomorrow to write on Twitter or even call me and talk to me, that will take them seriously. I don't. When you call me and talk to me about issues like this, and I know that you're a powerful person that can help me and you're not helping me, I look at it as just, of course, it's social capital. You want to say, oh, you have talked to the family. Yeah. But brother, talking to the family does nothing for me. Right now, Peter Obi is the, well, you could say national leader of Labour Party. Labour Party has all the legislators in National Assembly are from Labour Party in Anambra State. Has he talked to any one of them to bring up this issue? Yes, he can't do anything. He's not in power, right? But he has these people that are his friends, that are his comrades, that are his party members. Has he talked to them to do anything about it? Or he's going to skirt around it? In Anambra State, APGA has numbers, right? How many of them has thought that, okay, it is time for us to discuss this? In fact, we don't even care if they're APGA, APC, PDP, whatever. This is an Anambra issue. How many of our legislators at the Anambra State House of Assembly has ever talked about it? Is it not important? Are they not ashamed of themselves that the End SARS panel stood in Anambra? We had over 100 cases in Anambra State, indicting one man, and all of you sit down in the comfort of your homes, right? And act like it did not happen. They're not ashamed of themselves. The Anambra State government was the last employer of James Nwafor, and they say they cannot prosecute him. How many times the Anambra people beg Anambra State government to prosecute a man they employed? A killer cop that has not denied it. The police have confirmed that he did kill people that were arrested under him. And nothing, Anambra State government, nothing like should act. They're asking us, oh, come to the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, oh, write a petition, oh, this. When would government start being proactive? Why do they have to always be reactive? When? So, see, all of this, what I want is justice for myself and justice for all other families. We deserve it. First, we are Nigerians, and so we deserve it. But also, more importantly, we are humans. It's our right. The whole idea of self-actualization that government is supposed to give us is, it looks like this: social justice. Give us justice. Whether it's an Anambra person or the woman in River State, the girl that was talking about his brother that was killed, she was crying during NSAS. Nobody did anything. Someone bears herself, opens up a traumatic story, tells it over and over again, cries over it on national TV, on international TV, open their family. This is an open and shut case. Nobody has, I don't think that anybody who has come to speak about their brother or their sister or their father or their mother being arrested by police and killed in Nigeria has ever claimed that this person is innocent. They're asking you to do the right thing. The criminal justice system in Nigeria is clear. You are innocent until proven guilty. And the only way to be proven guilty or to be convicted of any crime is through a competent court with jurisdiction, right? It is not the police. The police has no right whatsoever to decide, to become the judge, the jury, the executor. In fact, there are very few crimes in Nigeria that comes with a death sentence. Okay? Even rape in Nigeria, which I am advocating for, that rape should have a death sentence, right, does not even have it. Corruption, where they steal thousands of our money, which leads to death of millions of Nigerians on a daily basis, do not have a death sentence. So I do not see why walking around in the night should have a death sentence. I don't see the reason why it should. It shouldn't. I don't see why boys coming together to make noise or play or go home late should have a death sentence. In fact, if you think that they are constituting nuisance, arrest them and release them the next day. It's fine. All of these things is, again, to show you how wicked, heartless our political elite is, and how silly the Nigerian police is to be allowed themselves to be used to enforce this kind of criminality and wickedness.
Yeah, let's. I'm kind of processing everything you said, and so many deep things you mentioned. I want to go back to P2B for a second. The reason why I want to go back to him is, obviously, with everything happening, his election, his campaign, and there was this characterization of P2B as this saint, as this godly figure, as this the best governor in Anambra State. I'm an Anambrarian, just like you are. I know Anambra State very well. I lived in Anambra State when he was governor of the state for 8 years. And I know firsthand that, unlike they claim, he's not the best. And like you rightly said, it was under him that you had the 50 dead bodies floating in the river, in Ezu River, like you mentioned. Obedience, they keep quiet about it. And I always bring it up to Obedience whenever we have this argument about Nigeria. And I always point them to this case of the Ezu River, and the fact that under James Nwafor, 50 young men were killed. Their bodies were taken to that river, dumped in the river. And I hate to say this, and this is just me coming from, I love the military, I love this, I love intelligence, and I love going into those kind of theories and those kinds of things. And normally when they kill people, right, there's a way to get rid of the body in a way whereby you won't have any backlash, or to be like you won't see the body. But SARS were so ineffective and so inefficient. And I'm sorry to use this example, but I'm getting somewhere with it there. They were so bad at their job that they killed these young men. They took them to the river. They didn't even get rid of the bodies properly. And then in the morning, I know when that happened because it was all over the news in Anambra States, that suddenly bodies were floating in a river. 50 dead bodies of young men. And for me, it's like, it's wrong for you to have killed them. But in second place, it's also wrong for you to have dumped their bodies in the river. And in third place as well, you dump their bodies in the river, the family comes to see them and sees the body in that way. When I saw my dad last year when he passed, I remember I couldn't even go into the mortuary. At first I was scared, my first time. And I summoned up the courage to walk in. I saw him on the floor. And I remember talking to my friend Desmond, I was like, that image can never leave my head. In Western societies, you put the dead body in the freezer or in the fridge, right? You come in, you bring down the dead body, you see your family member. By walking into the mortuary, my dad is on the floor. It's not something that should happen. So I put myself in the shoes of the parents going to Ezu River like your dad went, and seeing their 20-year-old boy. Your dad didn't even see him, but let's just imagine the parent that now saw his body, the body of the son or the daughter, they were all boys, sorry. Seeing them in that condition, bloated. I know this is very graphic, but when you think about it, I'm like, you cannot not hold people to be responsible. It's not possible. You cannot as an obedient tell me that P2B did not act. Even if he didn't do anything, his inactions alone speak louder than words. The fact that he did nothing, he didn't call a press conference. He called a press conference. Okay.
So P2B was not in the country when
you didn't ask for the
I'm sorry to cut you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because first thing, I am obviously non-partisan. I don't root for any politician. I think they're all evil. Every one of them. I think that they have, once you attain the height of an elite, you're no longer on my side. Maybe my friends are right to say I'm a comrade, but yeah, sure. But like, what I'm saying is, P2B did call for a press conference. He was not in Nigeria. He was out of the country when it happened. When he heard it, he came back. His chief of staff, Oseleka Obazi, went there.
No.
Is it not Oseleka?
I think the mistake, he wasn't in the press. That's the point I'm making. P2B was in the press conference.
He did a press conference. He even called for an investigation into it. But P2B, the panel did not give a report until P2B left office. Yeah. I mean, this is a case of people's deaths.
Yeah.
And he didn't push
exactly.
for the report to be faster, for the investigation to be faster, to give a report on it. The report did not come until, I think, sometime in 2014. And P2B left in 2013. Right?
Yeah.
And so you begin to wonder, like, was it lip service? I don't know. I can't say. He can say that he had done his best. But what does your best look like? What does your best look like? Amnesty International had a report on that incident, that gory incident. Why didn't you act on their report? And when would P2B like have the guts to call out the Nigerian police? That's my own, like, I don't have any problem with him as a person. I just have a problem with his lack of spine when it comes to the police, which then begins to look like guilt to me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because why are you not calling these people out for what they are?
Yeah.
why are you not speaking out and saying
Yeah.
like what they did while you were the governor?
Yeah.
You can't do anything because you were the governor, but now as an average citizen, you are asking for an investigation to be called and all of that. Why are you not doing that?
I
Why
also,
are you
yeah,
not using your access, your
exactly.
platform
Yeah.
to do something? I don't care about obedience or non-obedience or whatever. I think that P2B was actually like sound when it came to which of the top three
No, of course,
candidates.
yeah, that's,
He
yeah,
was
of course,
sound.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that he could have been a
Yeah.
good president. I just was scared of him becoming the president and things like this happening and him not doing anything
And
as
that's,
usual.
yeah, and that was my issue. I said this to obedience. My critique of Peter when it comes to this issue is that peradventure he becomes president, we want you to know, sir, that what you did as governor or what you did not do when it comes to NSAS or SARS, the Ezu River killings. At least that alone will make sure that when you become president, or if you become president, you will ensure that that thing did not happen again. Or
Yeah,
that,
and also that was also like some of the reasons why I wanted him to win. In some ways, when people ask me if push comes to shove, who would you want to win? I say Peter, and they're like, oh, but he was there. He oversaw what happened with your brother, and I said, yeah, but his excuse has always been that he couldn't do anything as
yeah,
as the governor of Anambra State. But then he would be becoming the president
yeah,
of
no
Nigeria,
excuse now,
having access to the police fully. So
100%.
what would he be doing then? Would he then try to right his wrongs? But you see, the funny thing is that I don't think that anybody needs to be the president to do something about
Yeah,
this. You have access. In fact, if Peter B decides to seek audience with Tinubu today, he will grant him audience. Why is he not using his platform? Why are our politicians, not just P2B, Atiku, for example, has been in the corridors of power for as long as possible. He's a very powerful man, Atiku Abubakar, a very, very powerful man. If Atiku decides to speak and say that he expects an investigation and whatever, and he asks PDP legislators to push for it, they have the numbers. They have the numbers. For once in our lives, can our legislators grow a spine and do the right thing? Can these people who have the platform grow a spine? No, they don't. They can't because they benefit from the evil of the police.
yeah, they're in collusion with them.
Exactly, they are in collusion. If they call out the police, you might see skeletons in everybody's
Of course,
cupboard.
yeah. And
So no,
cupboards,
everybody
yeah.
wants, oh, it's not me that said, it's not me that said, it's not me that did, it's not me that, and so they will write press statements over and over again because they are the ones that use their police officer um, attached to them
Yeah.
to punish people that did not finish their clothes on time. It's them that use it to punish people that did not buy their recharge card the way they
Yeah.
want it or did not buy their food
Yeah,
the way they
yeah.
want it. So yeah, I
I,
understand them not acting.
I also think it's naivety when some Nigerians make the case when they try to defend P2B in this instance, or any other politician when they try to say, "Oh, the police is a federal organ, and so
It is.
governors don't have a say." And I point them to number one. Look at Governor Wike. When Governor Wike used the police to destroy his opponents' shops or whatever that he did last year in River State. That was a governor telling the police what to do. When I point them to Obaseki, current governor of Edo State, I don't know. Probably he didn't know what he was doing when he said this, right? There was this audio. No, he was speaking to some people. So him and Deputy Governor currently they're having an issue, right? So he was telling these people that I'm paraphrasing now. He knows what he knew what his deputy governor was saying to someone on a phone call. And he said himself that he's the CSO of the state. He's the chief security officer of Edo State, that he knows what's his name? The
Shaibu
deputy,
Philip.
yeah, Philip. That he knows what Philip was saying to someone on a phone call. So how did you know? So it's either you have intelligence, you have the DSS telling you, or you have the police.
So
But
when
my
they
point
say-
is governors, they always hide under this
Exactly.
facade
So
of
they remember the constitution and the constitution's and their constitutional rights
Yeah.
and lack of rights when it comes to doing the right thing,
Yeah.
they now know how due process works. Oh, I cannot control
It's a
the police.
petty
It's a
excuse.
federal whatever. But you can say you don't want a CP in your state and they will remove it for you.
Exactly.
And that is not you controlling it.
And
So
you use the
it's-
police to rig elections when it suits you.
Exactly. Yeah, when it suits you. So it's a convenient excuse, right? It's a convenient excuse. But me, I give people, even though, like, even if this is the best, this is the truth, you don't control the police and all. The Attorney General of a state is under the control of the governor of the state. He chooses the Attorney General of a state. You can ask the Attorney General to open an investigation into a police officer, right? Into the Nigerian police even. And you are suing federal government and Nigerian police for a crime that is committed against a citizen of your state. So all these stories about not being able to know is just not wanting to act, right? So it's convenient. And let me tell you, Nigerian politicians are very, very intelligent.
Of
They
course, yeah.
know
Yeah.
the right thing to do.
Of course.
They know when to do the right thing. They just do not want to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish them all the best. But for me, I would keep on asking until someday they will be shamed enough to do the right thing, to take actions.
Yeah. So ever since this has happened now, 11 years going on, has either P2B, Obiano, or Soludo reached out to you personally? Have they
No.
called your parents?
No. They have never talked to my family or anybody in my family, anybody related to my family at all. Not Soludo, not Obiano, not P2B. Especially Obiano, because Obiano was the governor when NSAS happened. Obiano was the governor that employed James Nwafor. So when they told
Yeah,
you,
yeah, as
as the SA
yes.
security,
Security, yes,
and
yeah.
when you found out that this person you employed is a deadly criminal, a killer cop that has killed so many people in your state, you didn't think that it is necessary to reach out to the families of the bereaved and at least commiserate with us, not just my family. I said there are about 120 cases, and about 100 of them were indicting James Nwafor. He could have just called for a press conference even and say sorry to us for having to live with the terror that is James Nwafor and having to bear him as his essay. Our tax used to pay a man that had killed and taken away from us. Yes, he should have apologized for it, but he didn't think that it was necessary. And so he walked away.
And like you said, on our way here, he's still currently in Anambra State.
James Nwafor is a free man walking around Anambra State, living his best. He tells anybody that cares to listen that nothing will happen.
And for context, your brother disappeared under P2B, right? Obiano, the NSAS happened under Obiano, the panel held under Obiano. It hasn't been released. Soludo comes in, he still doesn't want to release the reports from NSAS. Compensation has not been paid to the families, the 100 plus families that this happened to. When you look at this, right, and let's say, for example, one day, I mean, this may never happen, but let's say Soludo calls you, or let's say Tinubu even calls you, who knows? And let's say, God willing, your story garners a lot of, or keeps garnering a lot of eyeballs, and one day they would like to speak to you. And I understand it's a difficult position to put you in, considering that your brother, this happened to your brother. But please, if you don't mind, and you've moved this over for years now, you've given it so much thoughts. Let's say Tinubu calls you and tells you that he wants you to be amongst a committee of people to discuss solutions to police brutality, right? To talk about reforms. What are your first 3, 4, 5 steps or advice or solutions to resolve this quagmire, to resolve this conflict between the police and Nigerians?
The first step is to look at the backlog of petitions to the police. I mean, just with the recent Mohbad issue, you find out that a petition was submitted to the police that apparently the PRO says that they never got in Abuja. So we need to reform how petitions are submitted in Nigeria. Maybe start a technology-driven approach where there is a step when you send a petition, you can track how it is going and who it gets to at what time and how, right? That's the first part of it, to know how petitions are being sent and what is being done about it. And then the second thing is to open a proper investigation into all stations across Nigeria that has been accused of police brutality. Whether it is all the stations in Nigeria is fine. We'll investigate all. Half time, a disciplinary action should be taken, investigate all of them to ensure that we get the true story, right? Excavate police stations that have been known to be ground zeros for police brutality. Example, Akwuzu SARS. Example, Abattoir, the police station in Abuja here. Example, the police station, the SARS in River State. These are police stations that need to be excavated properly to see shallow graves of people and get people closure, right? The fourth one they should do then is a proper investigation of all the current police officers. How are we recruiting our police officers? What is the recruitment process? How is it happening? We need to know. And mandatory, I didn't say conveniently, no, it's mandatory psychological checkup monthly. And if you do not have a pass mark, you're not allowed into the field, take a desk job. We cannot be having police officers going around smoking, drinking on duty. No, we can't be having that anymore. Number 5, and this is very, very important to me, demilitarize the police. There is no reason why a police officer that is at a checkpoint where there is no war, there's no reason why they should be carrying an AK-47. A pistol is fine. A taser is fine. What's it called? Pepper spray is also okay. They can have all 3, right? You can have your service weapon, a pistol, but you don't have to have an AK-47 when there is no war in Nigeria. You're dealing with civilians, right? Just the threat of holding a pistol is enough to stop someone. Now, people will say, but criminals can come, and that is why we have the what they call emergency response team, which is why we need to also activate that rapid response team to act immediately. If things are happening and they are called, they come into act. It's not an average police officer that are on the street with their AK-47 that can even do anything.
Of course.
In cases like that, we see them run, and which means that they are not equipped to do it. So why are they carrying an AK-47? This proliferation of arms within the police is wrong. We need to demilitarize our police and make our police engageable. I should be able to see a police officer and ask them, I don't know my way around, I need to find my way. It's scary for people to even ask police for help. All right? So that is some of the reforms, what reforms looks like for the police. So if they call me, I'm willing to sit at that table and I'm willing to bring in my ideas on how to do this. All right? And we should actually have a correct number of the police officers we have in Nigeria. We don't know. So there are a lot of people that are parading as police officers and they're not police officers themselves. How do we know if we do not actually match police officers with their numbers, be sure of who they are? You see police officers wearing mufti, a black t-shirt, standing on the road and carrying an unmarked car. That's wrong. You must always be on your uniform. So if I see you, I know your name, I know your number, your rank, and everything. We must enforce all of this. But will they do it? No, they will not.
Yeah, because another way, you're 100% right, and I agree to all the points you made mention of. Another way I look at this is, just like I look at INEC, the current constitution of the NPA, the Nigerian Police Force, cannot resolve policing in Nigeria. Why am I saying this? Is a massive job to ask the NPF to reform itself. And that's why for me the only other option can only be state police in Nigeria.
Oh, but there is a police reformation and transformation office in Nigeria right now, constituted by Buhari.
Yeah, but they can't. It's like
it is not by the police. It is led by I think is in collaboration with UNDP and the German security agency.
Any of those guys.
So what I'm saying is that these people.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, right? Are they even allowed to implement the ideas that they have?
And to add to that as well, all of these reforms they don't really flow down to the grassroots. So, for example, the
We have
reforms
a
could be made
top-down bar.
exactly.
It should be up.
Yeah, exactly. It should be
Well,
bottom up, because for me,
bottom up. Well,
Abuja can say do this. Like for example, the IGP said no more Mopo garden VIPs. Guess what?
but every
Celebrities,
IGP,
celebrities as of last yesterday were still carrying Mopola around.
every IGP that is brought into Nigeria says the
There
same
was,
thing.
yeah, but that's my point. It's nonsense. They say these things in Abuja in their office, but it never gets down to
Oh,
the.
for the first 1 week, it might even happen,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
it's back to
Yeah,
business
because
as
for me,
usual.
the American system,
Because
the
we
federal.
have it's us. It's not the police, it's us. We have short-term memories. Because if you see a celebrity with a police officer, and again, the reporting channel, you're supposed to be able to report and say, why are they walking around and carrying bags for police, for politicians and all of those things? If you really need a security, you can pay for private security.
Of course,
And then
exactly.
they apply for guns, and we can.
Exactly.
We need to know. The problem is that we don't.
No, but these solutions, we need to talk about it more, because in a country like Nigeria, where we have 200 plus languages, and again, I point to America. America is a perfect
You want a
example of
community
this.
police.
In a, that's as well,
You want
because
a
it's
state
similar.
police.
Yeah, state police, but it's similar
But you
to.
see what is happening with the federal police under state government.
No. But my solution is this, right? The American system. You have the FBI, right? And when the FBI comes in, they take over the case. State police hands off, right? So have the same in Nigeria. Call it any name you want to call it, equivalent of FBI. But Anambra Police, for example, has its own police force, independent of Abuja. Rivers has their own. Kaduna has their own. Katsina has their own. Each of these states has their own independent police, just like in America. NYPD for New York, Florida for their own. And what that does is this, right? When Ezu River happens, we don't need to point to Abuja. We know who did Ezu River, the governor of the states. If you have state police, for example, right, and you know that police killed 50 young people, we already know who we are going to point our fingers at. That's the governor. You're the one that caused it. So you have to sack your commissioner of police, or investigate him, or try whatever. But the point is, we don't need to start pointing fingers like
Yeah,
NSAS. We don't need to start pointing fingers like, oh, who ordered the killings? No. We know that maybe he was the governor of the state, and we know you're in charge of the police in Lagos State. So whoever fired the gun or whatever, that's your police force under your state. And what also he does is he makes it easy to train these guys. It's difficult training thousands of police officers. It's very hard. So this thing talked about doing psychological tests, right? The CP of the state police of whatever police force is in charge every week or every month or whatever. You do it irregularly so that they, you just turn up and be like, pee in this bottle. Let's take a sample of your pee. I know this thing because I work in this field in a way, security field, so I know how you can do these things and try and get these guys.
I agree with you.
So
to an
it's
extent.
easier for you to do that thing, for you to train them, equip them. So, for example, when a police officer takes a gun from the armory, for example, you know what gun they took, you know what kind of bullet they took as well. It's easier for you to know these things, but when it's on a federal level, it's very hard. It's very difficult for you to know. So for me, I think as Nigerians, we need to have this conversation around what is the best way, not to do it in a way whereby we mend it halfway.
I get you.
But a 180-degree turn. That we
actually.
Exactly. No, but 360 is like you go back to where we were.
Yes, we need to, we are going back to ground zero.
Yeah.
And then we are then starting from bottom up, like you said.
Exactly.
I agree. And I have advocated for state policing for a while. But if I look at what governors are doing,
but they're already doing it under the federal police. They're already doing it.
I'm extra scared of the powers that they might have, right? See, again, even a federal police like we have can have all this reformation if we begin to do what the police, I'd say that they would do. According to the Police Act, every crime that is committed under a police officer, the supervisory police officer is also responsible. Yeah. So if a police officer shoots someone in Anambra State, the CP is also responsible. Yeah. So if the man is being punished, the CP is being punished. But it's all talk and no action.
Of course, yeah.
And I don't think that anything that we are saying here are novel ideas. They're not.
You're right, yeah.
The politicians know it.
Yeah.
So who is going to bail the cat?
I think to Obi's defense, I know he talks about state police, and that's one of the things I liked
he
about what he
also
said.
did state policing somehow in Anambra State when he was the governor.
Community policing.
He did community policing, got the communities involved and
Yeah.
all. But then another problem that comes with things like this also is the human human effects. Example, when people begin to lie against their neighbors because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want the
No,
police
we
to
don't
carry
want
them and all
that.
of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
that comes also with
yeah, yeah,
community
yeah.
policing. That was one of the harms that community policing did in Anambra State. We had people lying unnecessarily against their neighbors and saying
Yeah,
that they are criminals and all. People that have issues with someone over land will go and say
yeah,
that
yeah,
the
yeah.
son is a criminal, they should arrest and kill him and all
Yeah.
of those things. But then also is emblematic of the problem with the police. If someone was said to be a criminal, arrest and investigate.
Yeah.
And if it's not
Because,
true, you release the person. And
exactly.
people who give false information should
Yeah.
be prosecuted
Yeah.
also. But you see,
Yeah. Because the way I look at it is this, right? Anambra State, for example, or even any other states, Abuja says to this Yoruba guy who has never spoken Igbo in his life, never ever spoken Igbo, doesn't know how Anambra is, doesn't know how Imo State is,
yeah,
doesn't know the community wranglings or the politics in Imo State to Anambra
it all
State.
comes down to trying to unite all of us
It
and trying
makes no
to, yeah, I get you, but
sense.
like they're trying
I'm
to,
not. I'm not. I'm not
they
being.
want
I'm
to
not being
get,
tribal though.
I
You can take
get
an
you,
Igbo man as well who doesn't speak Yoruba or Hausa,
and
who
send
has
them
never
to the
been to Kaduna
north.
State or Katsina. You take him to the north. It makes no sense. He doesn't
Yeah.
know how the north works. Like for example, myself, I've not been to most places. I don't know how the north works.
So you
You
have to
can't tell
like
me to go
learn,
and
and you cannot
I
learn on
can't
the
learn
job.
it.
It's not a
It's
job.
not
It's not a job you learn on.
possible. You
Yeah.
can't. You're putting lives at risk. So the best thing is to tell the Kaduna man who has lived in Kaduna State all his life, tell him to lead the police in his states. Same to that Anambra person. You know Anambra politics. You know the family politics. You know what families are not talking to what families. You know how the politics works. You're the best person to solve Anambra police issues. You're the best guy, but not the Yoruba guy or the outside guy or the Efik. Or same again applies the other way. You can't tell an Igbo man who doesn't know how the language works, who doesn't know the
Yeah.
community wranglings in the north or all the Fulani or Hausa or the all those things. They cannot
Or
solve
even the
it.
culture. So you
Exactly.
go and say something or do something and it's
Exactly.
totally wrong.
Like as you know in
against
our
their culture.
language, for example, you can say one thing that will mean this, but in a different way, format, in a different context. So it's an impossible task. That's the point I'm making. Like it's apart from having this idea of state
You know, the
police.
president doesn't have to do this, right? The president doesn't have to lead this
No,
conversation.
no, of course not. The state
Legislators can start,
yes.
put out a bill for
Yeah.
state policing, and then
Of course.
they pass it within the state
Yes.
Senate and the House of Rep. It goes to the
Yeah.
to
Because
president
it's
for
even-
assent,
yeah.
and you can always lobby the president to
Of
assent.
course.
But you know, again, his willingness to act.
Yeah, we lack our political elite. They lack the will to do the right thing. I want to touch on this the lady you talked about while on our way here.
Oh yeah.
Forgot-
Because when you hear police brutality in Nigeria, what the image that comes to mind is boys, men, right? But women are also victims of police brutality. If you watched Gist Lover when they did that tell-all about Anambra and the Akwuzu SARS, they were talking about the girl that was raped and killed and all of that. But yeah,
Can you go into a story, please? if
for
you don't
me,
mind? Yeah.
for me personally,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a feminist and
Yeah.
a gender equality advocate. I don't even like hide it. Outside of being a social justice advocate and campaigner, I'm a feminist and a gender equality advocate. And I try to mainstream women in issues because women issues are often overlooked. We are not the target audience. Women issues are not important. But you see, during the NSAS protest, one of the reasons why I marched, apart from Chijioke, personally, was Ifeoma. Ifeoma Abugu was just a core member, just like myself. I came in 2018. I can't remember the year she came to serve in Abuja. And she was in her fiance's house. They came to arrest the fiancé here in Abuja. Came to arrest the fiancé and he was not around. She was in the house. They arrested her. That was the last that was heard about Ifeoma. Autopsy report when the family found out that she was dead, they demanded for an autopsy report. They did the check. They found out that Ifeoma was sexually assaulted. How am I using this? Was raped and killed while in police custody, right? Choked, killed while in police custody, raped. In fact, they found semen that was still livable. How do they say it? In her body. Hours, maybe days after she's dead. It was a gory experience for me. Like when I was watching an Arise TV news discussing this, and I was shocked. I cried. My friend was holding me. I was like, What kind of wickedness would make you arrest someone in lieu of another person? Is wrong. It's not even allowed in the Nigerian Police Act. You're not supposed to do that in the first place. But you did it, and then you had the guts to not just kill her, you raped her, and then you killed her. What kind of wickedness, like, makes you do that? How do you sleep? How do you cope with yourself? How do you live with yourself? Be able to eat food, talk to your loved ones, maybe go back to your home and talk with your children when you know that you did such evil, heinous acts. You know what? The family has still not gotten justice up to today. Yes. And that is something that does my head in when I think about it. So recent, such a young girl. She did not. This one is not the one that they will be saying she committed. No, but there's nothing like a perfect victim. But Ifeoma was a completely perfect victim. She did not do anything wrong. The police did not say that she was a criminal. She was arrested because she was in the house of her fiancé, who is supposedly a criminal. Okay, what about the fiancé? Have you guys prosecuted him now? No. So what happened? Why this is no, but see, but when we look at the Nigerian police and we look at the evil that they commit, the level of sexual and gender-based violence these people perpetuate in this country, if you dip it, if you read the report on Akwuzu SARS and how they use bottles to rape, to violate women in the name of torture, you begin to wonder, like, who are these people human beings? And they are still within the police force. These are the people that we need to remove. This is why we need that investigation to prosecute these animals. Some of these ladies can't even tell their stories. They live with shame and embarrassment that is not supposed to be theirs. That is for the people that survive it. There are others, countless of them, nameless, forever forgotten.
Yes, I don't know honestly, man. This is it's shocking. I don't know how I'm gonna put it. Like, I wish the foreigner who listens to this or anyone who doesn't understand how Nigeria works can go to some places in their mind to recognize or to see how the police works in Nigeria. Like, is that extreme? I'm not surprised because I know this is how Nigerian police is, but you go to some places in your mind where is that bad?
It
Like, is that bad that, like, in that documentary as well, the girl had to sleep with the officer, and even the officer knew at that point that
It was more
the
than
brother
one
had died.
officer. He decided to make her his I don't know. And every time he wanted something from her, he would tell her, "Don't you want to see your brother?" You know the funny thing? She was not asking him to release her brother. She was asking for access to see him. And she never saw him. And he kept on sleeping with her, like taking advantage of her. The Nigerian police is wicked. Every one of them, including my uncle that works there, all of them are wicked.
Yeah, you did mention your uncle while we were on our way here. I don't know if it's something you want to get into, but I think you mentioned. Now you've said, talked about it here. You mentioned him, and it's
All
ironic that
of
your
them,
uncle, yeah,
all of them, from beginning to end, all of them need a proper psychological check.
I don't even think they can
And
continue in the force.
they
They
should
have to
just be
leave. Yeah,
sacked.
yeah, they have
Yes,
to
you are
leave the
right.
force. Yeah,
Leave the force and be
yeah.
prosecuted for the crimes
Which is
that they
most
have
of them, to
committed.
be honest. Yeah, there are always one or two of them. We can always
See,
argue who are.
let me tell you the truth. If you check the cases of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria, a lot of them are committed by law enforcement officers.
Of course, yeah, I agree.
A lot of them are committed by law enforcement officers. And it is sad that they are also the people that you have to report to.
Yeah, because they have the power, they have the force, they have the guns.
And we don't have enough women in the
Yeah,
police force.
yeah,
We
of
need
course
more
not.
women.
Yeah, yeah,
We need a gender balance in that police force.
yeah.
Because the level of impunity that happens there, I think we need more women. We need even more women in powerful positions within the police. I
Yeah.
don't think we've ever had a female IG. Maybe we need one.
Yeah,
So maybe we can talk to her, because you see, there's level of lack of accountability we have with male figures in Nigeria. Let me give you an example. Mabio was making the Senate president was making jokes of let the poor breathe the
Yeah.
other time, and people called him out, and he just came on Twitter and said that it was just a joke and all of that, and that was it. But the current minister of women affairs has made unguarded statements about the victims of sexual and gender-based violence, sexual assault and harassment in the University of Calabar, and women all over Nigeria have written strongly worded letters to her and even to the president asking that she be reassigned. Yes, they have done that. Women held her accountable. She has apologized and they say, we're not having your apology. We don't think you're fit for your position anymore. Men will never do that. So maybe we need more women in powerful positions within the police to begin, because we can hold them accountable. We know how to hold them accountable. We know where to press the buttons, and we know that we can make them do the right thing. But more importantly, like, the police need to be purged.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen.
A
Hundred
purge needs to
percent.
happen
Yeah,
within the
hundred
police force.
percent. And I don't think that can happen at the top level. And I think that's why it's important we keep having these kind of discussions, because I don't think we'll ever get to that point where the top decides to suddenly change herself. I mean, Abuja or the federal government. I don't think they will ever come and be like, you know what, this system that has been working for us for all this while, let us just give power back to the states and let them do their thing. I don't think they will, because like we've talked about on this podcast, that they benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
So say we have a devolution of power at that level where at least it's a bit easier or smaller.
I mean, Nigeria is
Like,
so-called a federating union.
and that's what it should
The
be
federal
in
government.
essence. Yeah, in essence, that's what it should be. The states should have as much power to govern themselves the way they
Exactly.
want to. So, for example, Lagos can be like, we want to have police brutality in Lagos. Okay, fine, no wahala. I can leave Lagos and go to Anambra or go to Kaduna, where I know
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
low levels of police brutality, where I know
Yeah.
I can be safe and secure, and the police can really be my friend. But in Nigeria, in almost all the cases, the police is not your friend. Whether it's in kidnapping, whether it's in some cases of, or even in most cases of gender-based violence, like you talked about, in one way or the other, they're always involved. Even if in the fact of their friend calling them to arrest somebody, like in some cases, it's laughable. As someone who has lived abroad, and I look at this and I'm like, the things that the police are being asked to do in Nigeria, you can't do them in Western societies. You can't be holding as a
No.
police. You can't be holding someone's bag or holding your madam's tea or bringing tea for your madam. All those silly, nonsensical things that shouldn't be done. So even the police themselves should have a sense of pride
And
that
dignity.
even they themselves should not be doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. You know, so I think it calls for like a proper revaluation and, like you said, a proper purging. And for me, I just hope that my prayer and my hope is that we keep talking about this, and hopefully at some point something gives in or something changes. I don't know if that will happen, but I'm optimistic about Nigeria. Honestly, I am. I believe that
Oh yeah.
our young people like
we are
us,
all
young,
we are all optimistic about
Yeah.
Nigeria, and the problem is that we are willing to put in the work, but would they let us?
I think at some point they will.
Young Nigerians are willing to put in the work. I'm willing to put in
Yeah.
my expertise and help them reform the police, but they see it as you wanting to take food off their plates, and
Yeah.
so they don't want it.
I think they will at some point. They can't fight this for so long. It's not. You can't fight the wind. That's what they're trying to do. Like, but at some point, you can't fight. It's like, okay, look at the evidence of answer. Look at even the Obese campaign. Like, it's evident that something is changing in the Nigerian man's psyche and the Nigerian woman's psyche.
Yeah,
Our
it's
consciousness is being
changing.
elevated. Things that we weren't talking about before, we're beginning to talk about it.
But this is within us,
Yeah.
the non-elites,
The average Nigerian.
the average
Yeah.
Nigeria. How does this impact on the elite? Are we seeing this change, or for them it's still business as usual? How do we make the change? Example, even look at what happened in the elections. We wanted to make a change or a revolution through the ballot box, and then we don't know what happened with it. And that is because the elite control
Yeah.
all forms. We wanted to do a change through strict advocacy and activism. We are short. You see, Nigeria makes you question your humanity. It makes you question everything you read, everything you know. How does this work? People were walking on the streets, marching. demanding for justice, fairness, and then they were shot, asking you to respect their human rights, and then the highest level of human right violation occurred to them. So you begin to ask yourself, like, what are we doing here? What is going on? Is there a hope inside? Yeah, there is. I used to be one of those people that said, I don't want to leave Nigeria. I want to stay and work and all. I still want to stay and work, but I think I might need to take some time off
Yeah.
because it gets overwhelming at some
Of course,
point.
yeah, I
I need
agree.
some of my time off. But
Yeah.
also, like, when would that be? I'm fighting a continuous battle. I actually I'm stuck in Nigeria, kind of. It's hard. I'm trying to make up money and go for my master's abroad and look at the exchange rate and you're like, oh my god, how am I going to pay this exorbitant school fees? And okay, you say, oh, let me put in the work, and Nigeria is dealing with you. You're working, you're trying to save, you're trying to invest, and every day the naira is becoming dust in your hands. And you're asking yourself, like, where is the hope? Where do people get a break? When do we get a break as young people? When our parents were our age, they tell us the things that they have achieved and done. Can we do that? Really? Can we?
Yeah, I think the word is hope. I think the enemy doesn't want us to be hopeful. The elite doesn't want us to be hopeful.
Yeah, because
They want us fatigued. They want us tired. Because when you're tired and fatigued, there is no point. But we
unfortunately,
cannot give in. Like we can't.
can't.
We can, like for me, the way I
Unfortunately, we
look
can't.
at it is this, right? There's no option.
When I said I was going to do my one person protest, my friend was like, don't you get tired? You have done, and I'm like, if I get tired, then who will do it for me? Have I gotten justice? No. So I'll continue, I'll just continue doing my thing and see
Yeah,
where it leads
honestly.
me. But
Yeah,
like,
I don't think like I was saying to you before we went on air. The burden on your shoulders is that big that at this point, if you give up, then it was not what was the point initial? I don't know if you
yeah,
get my
I've come
point,
this
right?
far
Yeah,
in.
you've gone so far at this point that for the sake of your brother, for the sake of I would imagine now thousands. If it's hundreds in Anambra, you
We
would
have
imagine
36
another
states.
35 states. Yeah,
Yeah.
there will probably be hundreds. So you're looking at thousands already of cases like this, right? So for the sake of those people, I don't think we can at this point withdraw from this battle or fighting this as and who knows where it's gonna get to. But I believe it's gonna change at some point. I believe it's coming. And I believe our generation will do it because I see what young people like myself and yourself and millions of other Nigerians, young Nigerians are doing. And it's evident that if we can just get it right, if we can get it right in some areas, whether it's at the state level, at the kind of councillors we elect, at the kind of governors we elect, because for me, at the macro level, I've signed up from Nigeria. Like, I don't look at Nigeria at the macro level anymore. Because for me, at that macro level, it's done. There's no point. It's pointless. If you want to solve Nigeria, solve the 30 states, then Nigeria is solved. So everybody should go back to their states. We are Nigerians. Hopefully, we elect someone good enough and smart enough to change
No.
Anambra states. The
So
Imo person does it, the Kaduna person does the
you
same.
want to elect a governor to change Anambra State? Me, see, but I think that we leave a lot at the table of the executive in Nigeria. So we begin to clamor and say the executive is not doing enough.
Yeah.
We need to also look at what are the legislators
Of course,
doing.
yeah.
What is the judicial? What is our
Yeah.
attorney general in Anambra
course,
State doing?
of
Collecting
course.
money. You're supposed to be the person heading the public prosecution office.
Yeah.
How many public prosecutions have you led?
Yeah.
We should be having this conversation. Legislators, every day people go to government house and sit down, the eyes have it. Have what?
Yeah.
It's not about approving budgets for the governor. What are you doing? The local governments, the money that you people get, what are you doing with it? What is Oka South local government chairman doing? It's not to go to bars and drink and pay for other people's drink. No. What are you doing? What are you doing with the money that comes to you? The money you are generating at the local government level. Where is it going to? We need these people to work. When these people are working, the executive will have no choice but to work.
Yeah.
When the executive knows that whether you like it or yes, the legislator wants to work, and if you're going to be the stumbling block, they initiate an impeachment process against you. It puts you on your toes to work. All right? When the chairman is working, the councillor is working, I don't then need to get to the governor to submit my petition about my brother's issue. I can start with the chairman. The chairman can escalate. This thing happened in Oyi local government. That's Okuzuba. Okuzu is under Oyi. If I complain to my chairman in Okasat, he reach out to his partner in Oyi, and they say that they cannot solve it from local government level, they escalate it to the governor.
Yeah.
And if a chairman is talking to the governor, is executive to executive, it makes a lot much more better sense. But you see, we are so tired. We just have to go to the executive and speak and ask, because we don't even. When was the time they had a local government election in Anambra State?
Long time ago.
It's a problematic thing. These are not good. These are not signs of us being in a democracy.
Of course.
It shows that we have a dead democracy. Our democracy is fledgling, and it is so scary with what is happening in other countries within us. We are seeing that there is a chance of Nigeria needs to be better. Nigeria needs to work in our time.
Yeah.
Right? And honestly, I think young people are putting in a lot of work. Have you seen Mandela Washington Fellows? Do you know how many Nigerians get into those? Have you seen Erasmus Mundus fellowship scholarships? Do you know how many do you see how many Nigerians get scholarships to go and do Chevening, Commonwealth, all of that, and are doing very brilliantly well? If you read their policies, their study statements or whatever, you are wowed by the kind of work they are doing. But private individuals cannot make changes that government can make.
Of course.
Because government changes are policies.
Laws,
I can say that in my area that nobody should throw paper in front of my gates. It's only me enforcing that one within my gates. But if government makes it a policy, a law, it changes everything. We need to have governments that are willing to act. Governments that are interested in acting for the people. But not just government at the federal level, at the state and local level. We say grassroots mobilization, grassroots working. That's what we need. If at the lower level it is working, then at the higher level we can see it. Bad as P2B was as a governor in terms of human rights violation and respect for human rights, he did a lot of grassroots working. He made sure that community health care systems we are working. He made sure that community schools we are working, free education, all of that, to ensure that at the grassroots level, at the bane of our, the starts up, we are good there. Even people say you have to be clean from inside to come outside.
Charity begins at home.
Exactly. So we cannot expect Tinubu to do anything at the federal level when Soludo is not doing anything. We cannot even expect a free and fair election at the federal level when states are not doing free and fair election at the state level.
Thank you so much.
The local government elections are state level elections, and the states should allow for freedom for people to be able to make their decisions. Look at what happened in Edo State the other day. And then later, what's his name? The governor of Edo State. Obaseki would then say the elections at the 2023 elections were not free and fair. The one that was in your corner, that was in your table to conduct, how free and fair was it? How free and fair was it? So you cannot, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. You cannot then say you want free and fair elections when you cannot even offer that within the confines of your power. How do you allow free and fair elections when elections come to happen in your state? Because when elections are happening federal elections are happening, the state government is in charge. Even though it's INEC, right? To protect INEC and INEC properties is within the state. Do you even allow free and fair elections?
Listening to your story, and as we end, I just want to appreciate you for replying first of all. Because when I reached out to you, I wasn't sure that you were going to reply, but I was like, let me just try and see.
I already use Instagram anyways.
I think I noticed because it took you time to reply. But for me, I'm like, I do really appreciate your time. I'm grateful that despite what's happened to your brother, you're still on message, you're still on calls. It's a difficult thing to do. People that have lost loved ones and having the ability to still, despite the trauma, to still talk about it, in a way it's nice to see that despite all you've been through, your family has been through, you're still persistent, you're still courageous. It's nice. And I hope that, I don't know where this will lead to. I don't know who people are going to watch this and take action, or who is going to, be inspired from your story and be like, okay, I need to solve police brutality, or, this can be my mantra, or whoever. But I just hope that at some point, whether it's closure for your family and the closure for the numerous other families, I hope that Nigeria at some point will work out, for you, for ourselves, because I think that just at this point, that just has to be what we're praying for and hoping for.
Of course.
But in conclusion, is there any account number you have for your movement? Because I think that has to be one of the steps, right?
Okay, so
is there a place that people that are seeing this now, is there a place that they can?
I am very reluctant to take money from people.
Okay.
And this is because of what happened with the NSAS, with the money issue with NSAS. When NSAS protest was cut short by the government, some of the issue that came up was accountability about how people were using the money that was sent in through different channels to different people. And that is one thing I beat my chest for. Nobody can say that they sent me money during the NSAS and I did not account for it. And I did not, so long as it's for public use, I don't even want you to send it to me. I ask you to send to someone, so account, and that was it for me. So I'm very reluctant about taking money from people. Also, with the way I was treated after NSAS, when I asked accountability from people who had offered money to me and my family, the way they came at me and was like, but we gave your family money, so why are you asking us for accountability? It hurt me badly, and I regretted taking anything from them. So I'm very reluctant about taking money from people. I appreciate when people want to support me. What support looks like to me is amplifying my voice. Because yes, I might have a loud voice, as you can see, I do have a loud voice. But it doesn't hurt to have other people joining voices with me to loud my story. Also, reach out to the people around you, right? The big man around you that is your friend or your daddy's friend. Tell your daddy to talk to his big man friend, to talk to their big man friend, because when big man talks to big man, something might happen. So that is one way to help me. I don't have an account number for my movement. The Where is Chijioke campaign is personally funded from my salary, by myself. When I did my T-shirt, my banner, and everything, I did it on my own. I don't ask people for help in that regard. So, yeah.
What I'm gonna do is if you don't mind, I'll put your IG, Twitter details.
Okay.
Just
yeah,
in
sure,
case
that's
anybody
fine.
wants to reach out to you and support or anything,
I think
you can
that's
speak.
fine,
Yeah, you
yes.
can speak to them. But once again, I'm so grateful that you made out the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
And I'm also looking out for opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you have opportunities for me to apply for fellowship scholarships to leave Nigeria for a while, I'm out for it.
Yeah. Hopefully someone out
I want
there
to go and do my master's and probably PhD, then come back and work, because I think that even though I am equipped, so to say, I've learned on the job being an accidental activist myself, I still need some level of guidance on
Of
how
course,
to
yeah.
engage properly with lawmakers, how to get them to understand. Because one of the problems we have is that sometimes our advocacy ends as street advocacy or activism on the street, on the road. But how do we transit from street advocacy to policy making and policy influencing? Those are the things that I'm interested in. So yeah.
Hopefully it works. So someone listens to this and takes it up. Yeah.
No problem.
Once again, thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
You're my president. Thank you. Have you told them that you were my president in
You're
Unity?
funny. I'm humbled.
You're my president,
I'm humbled,
and we were at is it Faculty of Law with our red T-shirts, standing with you when they decided to remove you as our president. It was very painful.
Yes.
The only president we have ever gotten from political science. Sad. Very funny.
No, honestly, I'm honored.
And I was honored when you reached out. I'm like,
And I was surprised.
Really?
I was surprised that it's a small world. That's why it's good to be,
is.
But yeah, I'm humbled and thank you. I'm so grateful for doing this, and I hope your parents are okay. The parents of the other families. I hope you guys
Hopefully.
stay strong and.
Hopefully we'll all be fine.
Yeah.
In
Thank
the
you.
end.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.